And welcome back to Forbes Sports Money. You are currently watching, yes, the Yankees Entertainment and Sports Network, which was launched on March 19, 2002. 10 years later, Yes has emerged as one of the most successful ventures to hit the sports and media business world. But this was not a given when the network was created. And that was a time of great uncertainty for Yes, brought about by the events of 9/11, an unprecedented battle between the Yes Network and the Dolan family-owned Cablevision, which had previously held the rights to broadcast Yankees games, and the fact that nothing like the Yes Network had ever been done before. In order to get the full story of the creation of the Yes Network, Michael Ozanian sat down with the president of the New York Yankees and a couple of the banking pioneers who went to bat for the idea of the Yes Network in our Sports Money Profile.
Randy, whose idea was it to start the Yes Network?
It was George Steinbrenner's idea. He had been extraordinarily successful in negotiating a mega rights fee arrangement with Madison Square Garden, and as being as creative and innovative as he always was, he realized he could do much better if he owned the network himself. He really didn't need a middleman.
What do you think were the biggest obstacles in the early stages to getting the Yes Network rolling?
I think there were several. The first, we were never really in the television business, so we had to get the right people to be able to make sure that we had a credible network that could be put on the air. And the second thing, we had some contractual issues with Cablevision and Madison Square Garden. First, we sought to be their partner. Cablevision resisted. They were not interested. So then the whole idea was to deal with the legal consequences of divorcing ourselves from them, and then once we were successful in doing that, making the pitch to all of the distributors that the Yes Network, A, was a must-carry, and B, should be on basic cable.
How hard was it to secure the financing for the Yes Network?
It really wasn't that hard. Once we made the decision to go it alone, we needed a financial partner. And in the beginning, Goldman Sachs, we hired them to be our investment banker.
Jerry Cardinal is a managing director at Goldman Sachs and wrote the business plan for the Yes Network.
Jerry, what was your reaction when the Yankees approached you about starting a regional sports network?
Well, the first thing was, I grew up in Philadelphia, so I had to think about Phillies, Yankees. That was really the first thing that came into my mind. Second thing was, I'd never been to a baseball game since I was 12 years old, and so and had never been to a Yankee game. And then the third thing was, what's an RSN? What's a regional sports network? So, really, to be honest with you, I was a complete neophyte in all of this. It was 2001. It was the spring of 2001, and when this first came to me, it was so unique and different, but so there was no textbook to read about it. There was no one to ask about it. It was literally meet with the team and start thinking through what the question really meant.
Well, as a private equity guy at Goldman Sachs, you're used to crunching a lot of numbers. What were the numbers that you started to look at that let you think, this could work?
Well, it's a good question. At a certain level, it was just fundamental macro analysis. Most importantly being that, the Yankees are probably the most watched and sought after content in the tri-state area of New York, Connecticut, New Jersey. This is the best reality programming there is on television. And when we have Yankee Red Sox games, the ratings on that blow anything else out of the water on television. So when you just start looking at the possibilities of this kind of content being broadcast to 8.5 million people across the tri-state area, let alone with a team that had won all these World Series from the '96 period to the 2000 period, it's not so much the specific numbers. You didn't have to be a rocket scientist to know that there was real value here.
And in 2001, I believe the day before the 9/11 tragedy, it was announced that this was going to happen. Then, of course, 9/11 happens. Yet you didn't know what was going to happen with the economy, let alone the country. Yeah. And you stuck with it. Was that a hard decision?
September 10th, we announced it, very excited. The next day, that horrible day. And, by the end of the week, some investors that we were partnering with backed out of the deal, and we stood up for the entire amount. And I think that was really where the relationship between us and the Yankees was forged. You know, it's in these times of hardship and these times of of real stress where partnerships really get made.
We got blown up. Literally, we were at the World Financial Center right across from the North Tower, and we were connected by a bridge to the North Tower. And so when September 11th happened, our offices were destroyed. And they moved us out, and we were working when we did this deal out of the Sheraton Hotel.
When sports banker Sal Galatioto was with Lehman Brothers, he helped secure the Yes Network's debt financing.
And I went to Tom Bernard, who was my boss. And Tom is a legendary guy on Wall Street. He is, if you read Liar's Poker, he is the human piranha. And I convinced Tom that this deal made sense. And, with Tom's help, we went all the way up to the top of the firm. I mean, to make a $120 million commitment, only a couple of months after September 11th was not an easy thing to do. But we really believed in the value of the Yankee rights, and we got the deal done. And, we came back, put it together, and that was the financing portion of the Yes Network.
We're also doing one thing that they always say in the industry never do, which is a build it and they will come. Not to use a baseball analogy, but this was a build it and they will come. This was invest the money up front and then go figure it out. Who knew 9/11 was going to happen? And then we had to be on the air April 1st, 2002. So on the air, that execution process meant dealing with all the cable operators, the satellite companies, finding a name for the company. There was no Yes Network. Finding a management team, getting a sales force, selling advertising. This was a lot, and to sort of bite off, and it's great to be ignorant at the time, because if I knew what we were going to go through, I may not have done it up front. No one had ever done anything like this, and the guys that do this are professionals in this business. They're the big media companies, but no one had ever had the temerity to actually say, as an owner of a sports team, hey, wait a minute, these are our rights. This is our fan base. This is our brand. Let's change the economics in the way the economic partnership is with all the people in the ecosystem, and that's what George Steinbrenner did. That was his vision. That was his legacy. And I will tell you, right up to today, where you see other sports teams being sold, there's a lot of interest in them, and the values for everybody have risen. Really, because I think what the trailblazing that George did, he really sort of looked at these media rights and he said, this is not only where a tremendous amount of value is in addition to the team, but this is a wonderful way to really connect with your fan on a live, everyday basis.
Over the course of the Yes Network's first 10 years, what are some of the more pleasant surprises you had?
I think the greatest pleasure has been the quality of the network. I mean, for a startup network, and I give John Filippelli, who's our president of production, a lot of credit, the quality of the games, the quality of the broadcasters, the in-depth analysis has been phenomenal.
Given what some of the rights fees have been, the straight right deals for teams that don't own a piece of an RSN, and how much the TV market has changed, do you still think, were you to consider starting an RSN today, the Yes Network, is it still the way to go as opposed to a straight rights deal?
For us, it clearly would be. Each team is different. There are different circumstances. For us, as George originally said, it's better to own than to lease. I think, rights fees are very, very good, and you've seen incredible rights fees deals like with the Lakers in Los Angeles. That's very, very important. And, for us, we have to measure it against revenue sharing and a lot of the intricate rules of baseball. But for this brand, in this market, it makes total sense. And I think if we started it today, we'd be as successful as we were 10 years ago.
Well, Yes has certainly been a boon for all of its investors and Yankees fans as well. And when we return, we'll take a look at how Yes has changed the sports business landscape on Forbes Sports Money.
You have the single best brand probably in the history of sports, and maybe one of the best brands in all of the media business. And the opportunity is unlimited.